Good evening and welcome to Sacred Heart Parish family here, in which we have our evening reflections. And perhaps for you may be the first time listening and coming to see this, we welcome you, and we welcome all who come each week. Today in our reflection, I'd like to bring up something that's probably quite familiar to you, and especially to parents and grandparents and all the family. Many of us probably don't remember our own baptism because we were little infants, most likely. Some adults come in that way and get baptized, but most of us are just little bambinos, little children. And it's the sacrament in which we become a child of God. Now, I know how old you may be out there listening, you're still a child of God. Doesn't matter what your age is. Once you become that child, you're baptized, you become that child of God himself. And what a beautiful sacrament that really is. And most likely, if we can't remember the new rite of baptism, so to speak, because many years ago it was different, but after a child, or during the baptism towards the end, the godparent is given a candle to light. And it's lighted from the Paschal candle that comes in at Easter time. And it symbolizes the gift of faith. And that's where the child, all of us, it renews our own faith when we see this, but it's the gift of faith that we give to the children at that time. And the minister who performs that says, let this light be kept burning brightly, so this child of yours will be nurtured, basically, and grow in the faith that we are all professing with them today. Beautiful, beautiful ways in which we recall that. So when we gather for sacred liturgy, and many of us have been deprived of that, not only because of this pandemic that we're going through, but we'll get there again fully as a community. But, perhaps in February we were planning vacations and all that type of thing, and school breaks, but none of that's happening. And so we do have that journey of faith together at home with family and friends. And those little children that were baptized, we need to share our faith with them and nurture their faith in many ways too. Now, one way we can do that is personal prayer and devotion. And teach your children to pray during this time. It's so important to do that. Spend some time one-on-one with God himself, sharing what's in our hearts. We all are going through a lot in our life in these days. And share that with God and just listen to him. Let God know that you're getting to know God and form that intimate relationship with him. Tend to think about your own personal faith. It's not private. It's not something that's just to you alone. And the reason God gives us that personal faith is we need to give it to others to share in our life as well. We need to speak about our faith. We need to share it in our actions in life, to shapes our influences, our choices that we make every day, and our opinions. And sometimes we're very judgmental in some ways, and we need to teach and be a good example for our children at home and our families that we find ourselves in more now than we did before. So how about spending some time and see in our own mind how we can reflect and see how we treat others, how our day goes, and are we involving God in our everyday relationships? We have been and are temporarily not able to be nourished by the Eucharist, as I mentioned, but not all of us, that is. But let us pray for the courage to share the light of faith with those in our life, those that are around us, those that we go into the supermarket with. Let's not be too anxious. Let's be patient, and all those types of things in life that we need to do to show that we are children of God in the places where Lord has chosen to lead us in our life. So especially in the present situation we find ourselves in, let's be ourselves and let's be close to Christ in our life, in our changing world, and bring it to the fullness of all that we can to be that minister for Christ to share for others in the world. God bless you this evening, and may the peace of Christ be with you, your family, and in your hearts. Good night.